Hello, I'm Ollie. Welcome to Oxford Online English. Today we're going to talk about making presentations in English. If you have to make presentations in English and you're not a native English speaker, you'll know that making presentations in another language is not easy. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you some advice and ideas to help you make better presentations in English. Point 1. Pay extra attention to your introduction. It's the most important part of your presentation. You know why? Well, think about something. Have you ever listened to someone speak and you stopped paying attention because you didn't care or you found it boring? I'm sure you have. We all have. The introduction is your chance to get people's attention and convince them to listen to what you have to say. If your introduction is boring or unclear, your audience will stop listening and it will be really difficult to get their attention back. So what should you do in your introduction? Some general ideas. Think about your audience's needs when writing your introduction. Think about how your presentation will help your audience. Tell your audience how they can benefit from listening. Point 2. Outline your ideas, give a summary, but don't go into too much detail. You want your audience to understand your general ideas. You don't want to go into too much detail just yet. You could also engage your audience with a question, an interesting story, if it's fairly short, or a surprising fact. And also keep your introduction short. It should be as short as you can make it. Point 2. Use signposting language. Well, what's signposting language? It's something which helps your audience understand what you're saying and why. Signposting language isn't part of your message. It's something which helps make your message clearer. Let's look at some examples. You can use signposting language to give a summary. Today, the main points I want to cover are 1, 2, 3. You can use signposting language to introduce a point. Now, I'd like to talk about blah, blah, blah. You can use signposting language to move from one point to another. Let's move on to you can use it to refer back to something you said before. If you remember, we said that blah, blah, blah. If you remember, we talked about blah, 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 and so on. You can also use signposting language to introduce your conclusion. To wrap up, let's summarize the most important points. There are many different words and phrases you can use as signposting language. Every good, clear presentation needs a lot of signposting language. In my experience, English learners often fail to use signposting language well, and so their presentations are not as clear and well organized as they could be. Use signposting language often. Try to use different phrases so your presentation doesn't sound repetitive. Point 3. Organize your ideas into clear paragraphs. Just because your ideas are clear in your head, that doesn't mean they'll be clear to your audience. Before your presentation, make a list of all the points you want to make. Then, for each point, write a topic sentence. A topic sentence goes near the beginning of a paragraph and gives a summary of the paragraph. Think of examples and details to support your point, and add signposting language to show where each point starts and ends. Let's do an example. Let's say you want to make a recommendation to hire more IT staff. So we could start with a signposting phrase. Let's move on to our next point. A topic sentence. Our IT department is understaffed, which means IT problems don't get solved quickly. Hiring more IT support staff would make our business more effective. Okay, that's the topic sentence. It gives a general idea of what you're talking about. Now, let's add some supporting ideas and examples. When an employee has a computer problem, it takes over 4 hours to fix on average. Then finish with a signposting phrase. I hope you agree that this should be a high priority for us. So, Signposting phrase, topic sentence, supporting ideas, signposting phrase. That's a good structure to follow if you're not sure how to organize your paragraphs. Of course, in a real presentation, you'd probably give more details, more examples, and so on. This is just an example to show you information structure and how it works. Point 4. Don't worry too much about vocabulary or grammar, except for key ideas. If you need to make a presentation in a few weeks, next month, say, your English ability is not going to change very much before your presentation. Don't worry about making your English 100% accurate. If your English is not perfect now, it's not going to be perfect next month either. The most important things are that your message is clear and that you speak with confidence. If you can do these two things, your audience won't notice your English mistakes so much. However, you should check keywords and sentences and make sure they don't contain mistakes. For example, the first 2 to 3 sentences of your introduction are really important, so they should be accurate 100% with no language mistakes. Also, if there are keywords which you use several times in your presentation, you should check that you're using them correctly. That means you should know the correct meaning and the correct pronunciation and be 100% sure. It really doesn't sound good if there's a keyword in your presentation and you mispronounce it every time. It won't be very successful. Finally, point 5, control your voice. Public speaking makes many people nervous, and speaking publicly in another language, well, that's really scary. Nervous people often talk too fast, which is a problem if you're speaking another language. If you try to speak too quickly, you'll make more mistakes, your language won't be clear. So control the speed and rhythm of your speech. Your English will sound better and you'll look more confident. Okay, that's all for this lesson. I hope it was useful for you. If you want to see more of our free English lessons, come check out our website, oxfordonlineenglish.com. That's all for today though. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.